All right, so recently I've been checking out some of the new free captures from Amalgam, some of their samples for their new capture packs. And I really liked a few of them. And as I played around with them more, I ended up building this preset. And the two I locked in on was, for cleans, I'm using the Two Rock Sterling Silver. And I think I said this in the previous video. I think I'd like this more if I had the warm capture, but these are the free ones and the balanced is the only ones available right now. I think I'll be buying this capture pack eventually, but for now I'll have to do with what's there. And then the other one I'm using is this Benson. I'm using the Edge. Before I was using the Crunch, which I really like, but on this one I'm using the Edge. And again, it's balanced EQ. So those captures, if you notice, both of them are cab included in the captures. So there's no IRs, there's no cab blocks here. I am running them through a low high cut. The upper frequencies, cutting off about 5,000 just to smooth out the top end. That's pretty usual. What's a little bit different for me is for these captures, I'm finding some of the low end bass can get a little boomy on these captures that have the cabs included. And so I'm cutting the lows at about 169 Hertz, again, just to clean up that bottom end a little bit. I am running them through a compressor just to give a little bit of sag on the back end, so as I hit the front with pedals, they're not getting too loud. And then on the back end, we've got a dual delay. So we're running our typical kind of Andy Timmons dual delay thing, 375, 380, around 500. And then we've got a plate reverb. Again, I don't have the mix very high on these, so it's not super wet, but just enough to give a good ambience. So the way the scenes are set up is, and this is pretty typical for my presets. So I tend to stack them kind of in columns. So clean, low gain, crunch, lead. And so here what we've got is we've got the clean. This one is a clean with some compression on it, and the compressor is pushing the SSS into a little bit of edge. I have some presets where I'm running both of the captures together. So we're running a dual amp preset there, and then I have a little bit of more gain in front, and I'm throwing a chorus on it. That sounds pretty cool. From there, I'm using the Benson exclusively. So we've got just the Benson by itself. I've got a Nobel ODS in front of the Benson for a really nice, thick kind of crunch tone. And then for the leads, I've got kind of my favorite capture that I created, which is the Archer Icon. That's in front of the Benson here. And here it's the same, except I'm also putting a compressor in front to add a little more fullness to it. So let's go through the sounds. So this is the Sterling Silver clean pretty much by itself. You can hear that's very sparkly. One of the things I'm doing is I have another delay here. You can see I've got the mix at 50, the feedback at 0, and the delay time is really low. And I've got the mod depth. What I'm doing here is kind of creating a doubling effect. So I didn't want to do just a straight chorus pedal on this. I wanted something a little more subtle. So this is a trick I like to do, and something I did for the Guthrie Governor tones I did a while back. So I'm just using a delay with some modulation on it to kind of double the effect. And it's a really subtle chorus. You can barely hear it, but it thickens up the tone a little bit. And like I said, this one just adds the compressor. You can hear that compressor, even though we're not adding a lot of compression and we're not pushing the volume, it's still pushing the front of that capture a little bit. You get a little bit of grit. It's a little bit of grit there. Kind of nice full clean tone. So if you want like a clean lead, I like this. For this one, we're combining both amps together, and I'm leaving the doubling kind of delay on. You can hear it still sounds pretty cleanish because you've got that sterling silver sparkle on the top end, but then you're adding in the edge of breakup from the Benson, which is pretty warm. It's a nice kind of really clear, but a little bit of warmth and grit to it. I like it a lot. For this one, what I did is I'm hitting it with this capture I found that's this SDD. So this is a chord delay preamp that a lot of people like to use to give a really kind of biting gain on the front of an amp. And I'm using that here along with a vintage chorus just to add a little bit of interest to it. So it's a kind of a nice modulated low gain lead tone. And then our rhythm sounds, one is just the Benson by itself. And then the other is we're hitting it with a Nobel OD1. So I don't have the drive too high. I'm pushing the level a little bit, and this is just a nice thick kind of rhythm tone. And then for lead sounds, I'm using kind of my favorite capture for leads is this Archer Icon, which is kind of a clon pedal with a nice mid push to it. You can see here everything's just straight across. I'm using the gain level 7, so a little more gain because our Benson capture is an edge of breakup. So a lot of this gain is coming from that Archer Icon capture. And one thing I'm doing a little bit is I am lowering the high cut a little bit here, just trying to warm up that top end, do that kind of Eric Johnson-y kind of thing. And then for this one, I'm adding the compressor and I'm letting the top end come through a little bit more to get a little more bite to it. You can hear, even with that, it's not tons of gain on this. I'm not going for anything super heavy here. I wanted it to be kind of a warm, semi-distorted top end, but still something you could, lead on and do some legato. So as usual, this preset will be up on my Cortex Cloud. Feel free to grab it and download it. All these captures are free, so you can grab them and play with them. Let me know what you think and if you like it. And as always, thanks for watching.